your host. That's right. I am back. It's Jessica Koch, and this is Profound Professionals, and it is the interview series. You've been following us. We love you so much. For 8 years now, we bring you industry experts from all over the world. I am not going to disappoint you today. We've got someone from Australia. Yes, bring out the Barbie, and it is down under with our kangaroo friends. We are here with Mark today, and Mark, as we bring people to you always that can help improve your personal life or grow your business, he is here to help us in some super inspiring ways, both from a business standpoint as well as personal growth. So he's an experienced business leader. He's a TEDx speaker, and he is a not just one award, but many, many awards for this amazing book that we're going to talk about later. March 19th was a big day for him. He had a spinal cord injury, and that really slowed things up for a minute. Halt him in his tracks. It changed his life forever. And now he has been inspired more than ever to help others pursue their potential. So, if a spinal injury can help you flip the switch and say, yeah, I think I might help others. I think that's somehow something good. That's pretty amazing. He wants you to embrace uncertainty. So the uncertainty of your circumstances. You don't know what's going to happen today or tomorrow. We don't know that on a good walking day. What if you were knocked off your feet and not able to walk? Then you embrace that uncertainty of what could happen and what possibilities are out there for you. And a whole world has opened up for Mark, and he's going to share that with us today. Welcome, Mark.
Thanks very much, Jessica, and thanks, guests, for listening in and watching in.
So tell us about your journey and your story. Not everyone has a story like this one, and I guess that's also a good thing. But this has been somehow a beautiful positive for you. But talk to us about what happened.
Yeah, and I think, like, so many of those big life changes, you've got to work on remembering the positive elements of it, because it's come with a few warts as well. It's not been perfect, but very typical father of three, beautiful wife, good corporate job. Life was pretty good. Struggling for a bit of fitness, doing a bit of cycling, so bicycles. I'd ride typically, 150 miles a week. Sunday morning ride, halfway through a normal 40-mile ride, and my front wheels just hit this sunken piece of road and sort of skidded out on me, and instinct takes over. Somehow I've kept the bike upright, and I look around, what are my choices here? And there was a grassy park straight ahead, and I thought, that's better than trying to force the corner and having an uncontrolled crash. So that corporate training, all that life training of how do I control this uncontrollable situation? The grassy park straight ahead, that's going to be better. I knew I was going over the handlebars. I knew it was going to hurt. What I didn't know, I was going to fly quite high off the bike, and I found a stormwater drain that was 5 foot below ground level. So I've sort of pile drive myself into the bottom of that drain, and it's fair to say the pain was intense, and I was in a fair bit of shock, and I was just struggling to breathe. And I think you've had a few guests on that have talked about breathing in the past. Well, at that an instant of hitting the ground and sort of still having my consciousness and just having this incredibly intense pain, all I could think about was, how do I start to breathe again? How do I slow down my breathing and not panic here and not be overwhelmed by this situation? And that simple little task of breathing became my first savior in a way, just by giving me something to focus on and to think about and to try not to panic.
And then from there, tell us how the journey unfolded.
Well, I had an hour or so in the ditch waiting for paramedics and getting off to hospital, and then later on in hospital had some really awful news that I'd crushed 2 vertebrae. I broke 5 bones as well, and the big piece of one of those vertebrae was in my spinal cord, so compressing my spinal cord by more than 50%. So suddenly, just everything I thought about my future and mobility, everything that I sort of had valued, I felt like it was ruined, because we sort of have these stereotypes in our head of what life will be like in those situations. And I didn't like that feeling very much, and I was catastrophizing about it a lot. So yeah, very, very arduous task of recovery, 7 weeks in hospital, practically a year of walking, learning how to walk again through various hospitals. That became my full-time
But you
focus.
are walking
I
again.
am walking, yeah, and I'm going pretty good. I walk about 50% of the pace that I did before. I get a fair bit of pain out of walking and other things, but yeah,
Mhm.
I'm so grateful for, I guess the landing back on my feet eventually with the help of amazing, amazing medical support here in Australia. And I'm so grateful for all the people that helped me on the journey and my own determination and focus and all those great things. And then
Mhm.
eventually that led to writing a book and this opportunity to help other people and realizing just how powerful that could be. And I just want to flip backwards for a minute. I guess I had a appreciation that that was important because I thought about people that I'd heard speak in the past, or I'd read inspiring events
Mhm.
about, seen Paralympians, lots of other things, and I thought about those people when I needed inspiration. So
Mhm.
very nice to just be a tiny piece of that puzzle on the other side.
Well, I'm sure listening to other inspirational videos or speakers or even things to put in your head on the days that you had to face some really painful physical therapy and push yourself to keep healing and working on yourself to get to the point where you are walking now was also helpful. And so, speaking of motivational speakers, tell us a little bit about how you serve the community now and what your clients are like. They're kind of twofold. We have the corporate space clients, and then we have maybe leaders and employees at those corporate spaces or other individuals. So let's talk about the two ways that you're serving the community now.
Yeah, so that inspiration can come from amazing people, role models in the community. It can also just come from the people that turn up that just tell you
Mm,
stories you didn't even know, right? And it did for me. And perhaps in some ways I'm like that when I turn up in a corporate event and
mhm,
I look relatively normal and I can relate to the work pressures they're under today because I was under those same work pressures in a corporate environment before, and talk about that sort of how powerful hope and resilience can be in almost any situation, how you can reach out for help. And often we get too proud and can't we struggle to reach out for help, but how powerful that can be, or how we just accept the help that's there in front of us that sometimes we're too proud to want to accept, and just how powerful that can be. And so I get to share that within corporate sense, I guess a corporate sense, and try and
mhm,
inspire people to just continue to find ways to support each other in work, to achieve better outcomes, to push themselves to more difficult situations. Because we're always dealing, like change is constant, as we know.
mhm,
We're always dealing with some uncertainty. Even when we think we've planned really well, the plan never works. So how many
mhm,
perfect plans are there, right? But the
mhm,
planning will help you adjust better. And how can I
mhm,
talk to people about, I guess, that ability to adjust when things sort of go a bit pear shaped? And that's the corporate side of what I like to do. But I'm also building a program just for people like me that have, had their life suddenly disrupted. I was 47
mhm,
years old when suddenly the life that I was expecting wasn't happening anymore,
mhm,
and I help them have that sense of belonging and community as they sort of tackle that
mhm,
really hard thing of recovery. And so the idea is to have a online program, 10 weeks, community based, where we're
mhm,
just supporting each other through little groupings and my stories and a lot of stories of others because that helped me.
mhm,
Um, Trying to just get the best out of yourself in a really difficult situation, because that's important to you now. It's important to your future. It's important to the
mhm,
friends and family around you. If you're just going better, right? We all are we
mhm.
all happier when we're smiling and life's just that little bit better. And it doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be better. And how do we find a way to help each other make our lives better?
So I hear that you're serving the corporate and the event organization. So if there's a conference or a corporate event, those companies can have you come in and do keynote speaking or possibly workshops for their organization and work directly with their team and their leaders and really help them with resilience and overcoming obstacles when the market changes drastically or the industry changes drastically. You can do this corporate piece, which is more speaking and business focused. And then you have this new community that you're building that anyone, they don't have to necessarily have their spinal cord compressed more than 50%, can come to you. They could be going through a divorce. They could have had a major loss, a love loss, or maybe their career lost and their career suddenly changed, or maybe they're retired and they don't have a connection to their identity anymore, or maybe they've also had a physical challenge or a diagnosis that's severe. There are lots of different things they could be facing, and be part of your community to receive that kind of support in embracing their new uncertain circumstances. Is that correct, Mark?
Yeah, so bias is probably towards the physical trauma end of things, or
Mhm,
whether it be a medical condition, stroke, other
mhm,
conditions where people are suddenly had that disruption. But yeah, exactly, the principles are the same through that. Somebody
mhm,
whose life suddenly has taken a step change from where they expected it to be, and feel a bit shaken by that, because most of us
mhm,
are. But, you know, think back about all those times in your past where you were being shaken by something, but you somehow managed to find a way to
mhm,
pick yourself up and get through it. And actually, never ended up quite as bad as you expected, because
mhm,
we're so good at that mental prediction, right? And the, and the mental prediction machine goes to the worst so often.
mhm,
Um, but having some support through those sort of processes, and yeah, that's the idea of, how do we just push ourselves into that fear at the very start and go, well, actually, I'm really fearful of the situation, but if I find a way just to tackle it a little step at a time, my perspectives on the situation will change. I'll start to get more information. I might even start to get curious about the opportunities that lies in this situation.
mhm.
And once we start to change that perspective, then we start to see a broader horizon, because the problem is when we get that sort of limbic response and we're getting fearful, our whole view starts to narrow, and our perspectives of what's possible sort of actually narrow, I guess, into a more negative sense.
So what's the website they can find you, Mark?
Yeah, the best website for me is markberridge.com.au.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Or
so based here in Brisbane,
.au for
Australia.
all of my US followers and
Yeah,
and
dot
Canadian
.au.
followers.
Somebody out there, there's a markberridge.com already. I'm not sure who that is, but markberridge.com.au. You have to go to the Australian version.
Yeah, .au. That's very important if you want to find the right Mark.
Not markberridge.com.bbq or Barbie,
Mhm,
as you like to introduce it. Amazing how often I get that joke, and I love it. Like, again, like all those little things that have happened out of this situation. I was so deflated at different stages. It was so hard, and yet I've met so many amazing people.
yeah.
Have such incredible opportunities. I've had a couple of trips off to Washington State, so Pacific Northwest, which is just beautiful, which had might never have had the opportunity to travel to before
Mhm.
as a result of you know this accident. So yeah, it's definitely put me back in contact with my creative side, and so many wonderful people, and I really treasure that.
That's awesome. Do you have anything else about your business or yourself that you want to share before you give us an amazing tip for the day?
uh, I think you know you got to look at the long game when you're changing. So for me, transformation's been hard in this business sense. I had a really strong sense of identity around
Mhm,
family and the corporate person I was before, and so sometimes when you're then making this bigger change, you lose sight of actually the progress you're making. And it's important to check in with those
mhm,
around you, because they notice that little change and those improvements better than you. So
mhm,
I think that's probably sharing a little bit about my business and the challenges I had, and a tip all at once. That check in with
mhm,
others, and because even those smallest actions, even the smallest progress will compound.
mhm,
I tell myself every day when I was pushing myself through recovery, you want to be alive for another 25 years. If you try as hard as you can and only improve the tiniest amount, that
mhm,
tiniest amount's still worth a hell of a lot over
mhm,
25 years, 30 years. And it's the same in the business, right? If we
mhm.
might find a way to make those improvements, and it's really, really valuable for a long time. We don't see them typically. How do we check in with others and make sure that we are, you know, giving ourselves that positive affirmation, that reinforcement that we're actually on the
Mhm.
right track, that we're making progress, and how valuable that might be.
I have a daily accountability partner, and I have a different person that's a weekly accountability partner, and then I have a different person who's a monthly accountability partner, and I talk to each of them about different things. So one person I talk to every single day, one person I've been talking to every week for years, and a new person I'm now speaking to every month, to evaluate different aspects. There's so many aspects of our life, right? And one of the things we do is we track some of our celebrations, and also when you just say things out loud, that you're moving towards, I think the universe is listening, because possibilities show up the more you say things out loud to another human, about what you're working on, and what are my three things I'm going to do today, what are the three things I did yesterday, and what is my overall goal for the week, and what is my overall goal for the month and this upcoming quarter. And I have these conversations with these different individuals, and it propels my life faster, I think, and I achieve more than many, because I have this community I've created for myself, and I do the same for them, and they have the same gift.
And I just love that. And obviously the focus helps you, as you say, on
Mhm,
that goal setting side. But also, um, I just love the fact that the celebrations, because we're so often
mhm,
downplaying our own celebrations,
mhm,
and by actually encouraging yourself to release it to other people so it gets properly celebrated. And if it gets properly celebrated, it's embedded and it's a much more powerful memory to help driving you forward to future things. The other thing I'd say in that brilliant goal setting is it doesn't need to um, just be about outcomes. How do we have goals around our behaviors and reward ourselves for our behaviors as well?
mhm,
And I know that was really powerful for me. Is I might make no progress at all, but I'll feel better about making no progress if I can reward myself for the way I've tried to make that
mhm,
progress and those behaviors and the attitude, because ultimately that drives so many things. But
mhm,
also, if that's something that's really important to your core values, to who you are, find a way to reward it, as well.
mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So the tip is to have some accountability. Is that what I'm hearing?
I was focused. Yeah, accountability works. I was tipping around even the smallest actions,
Yes,
compound to
small
great
action.
value. And
Mhm,
but if you're making yourself accountable for those small actions, then even better,
mhm.
right? To keep doing them. But just
Yeah.
be don't dismiss your small actions. Even the smallest actions have great potential. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. How about one of the things our show has just been so happy to celebrate is causes that are close to the heart of our guests. And you out there watching already know Mark's new. We're going to get him to share his with us, but you know. So get typing and put in the comments the cause that you care about. Because here's the point, we're going to spread some awareness, and we just might encourage someone to give time, treasure, or talent to the cause you put in there, to the cause Mark talks about, or maybe just remind them that they have a cause they love, and they might pick up the phone or go on down to the homeless shelter or whatever cause that lights them up and see how they can help. Because sometimes we forget, right? We get caught up in what we're doing, and we forget to reach out and say, what do you need? And how can I help? And sign me up for the next kitchen service, or what books can I donate to your cause? Or, oh, you're collecting coats because winter's coming. Whatever it is, sometimes we just get caught up in us and our families and our business and our goals. And this gives us a moment of pause to think outside of us, much bigger than us. We can do so much. So put in the comments, hit that share button, because you could be someone's hero. Mark, talk about your cause that you care about.
Yeah, so the cause I invest the most time in and care about the most is with the Royal Brisbane Women's Hospital Foundation. So that's the hospital I was in for the first 11 days.
Hmm.
And they put rods down my back that were, I guess, 9 odd inches long, or 10 inches long, that I wouldn't have had a chance of walking again without those being put into my back. And that was a pretty intense sort of operation. And then the physio that 5 or 6 days in just looks me in the eyes and said, Mark, love your enthusiasm, love you want to get back to work, but you've got to treat rehabilitation as your full-time job for the next year. That's you just got
Hmm.
to focus on that. And the ability to be blunt but also hopeful.
Hmm.
All of that was so valuable, right? So the opportunity to give back to that hospital is so valuable to me. And I think apart from the fact that I know that the hospital is doing great things for other people, it just reminds me of how lucky I am to live in Australia, and likewise in America, where you've got a system with great healthcare and you have great commonwealth around you, all the
Mm,
roads and electricity and all these great things around us. And yeah, for me, it's that hospital, and just reminding myself that how privileged we are to have
mm,
great health cover, and what can we do to help people see the positive of that, because so often there might be a negative case, or the media might pull out the one bad event, not the
mhm,
150 great events that are happening every week. And how do we find a way to celebrate all that greatness, that goodness?
mhm,
Because in the day, I suppose, you know, isn't it nice to be good? Like, just to
mhm,
celebrate the good in life and see the good in life. And I'm so privileged that the Royal Brisbane Women's Hospital Foundation asked me sort of back to support them and celebrate the good things that happen in the hospital, and try and highlight that and try and encourage other people to see that, and allows me to see it even best of all, like, just
mhm.
allows me to feel great about it. And how privileged am I to be in that situation?
Well, when you look up the article or the description notes in any of the places that you find this amazing interview, make sure you click on that link and check out that hospital. Or you can now be inspired to maybe check out your local community hospital. Many of these hospitals have foundations, and they have galas and charity fundraising and events. You can go onto the committee and volunteer to help them organize their next big charity fundraising. You could, if you have a story of wonderful things they did for you, you could offer to speak at the next charity event and share your story, because stories inspire people to write bigger numbers on their checks at those events than anything else. So, powerful stories. There's so many things you can do with the amazing cause that Mark shared with us today.
Yeah, and I think that that opportunity to give back is just so
Mhm,
valuable. And the foundation, in my case, the foundation at your local hospital case, they're probably doing so many things you don't realize. They might be funding
mhm,
research that otherwise wouldn't get funding elsewhere,
mhm,
but they're probably just doing stuff to support the families that are supporting the patient. And the patient will always get better if they've got great support around them. And what can you do to make the hospital feel less like a hospital? There's a lady in Australia, I've forgotten the name, but she's, the white roof tiles they have on the
mhm,
top of your ceilings. She's turning them into beautiful clouds and inspirational art on your ceiling.
mhm,
So if you're somebody that can't get out of the hospital bed, rather than looking up at some boring white sort of ceiling tiles, you're suddenly
mhm,
looking at some beautiful sky. Um,
mhm.
you know, obviously it's not sky. You'd still want to get outside, but it feels better to be looking
Yeah.
at something inspirational, and little things like that. So I don't think that
Mhm.
was a specific foundation initiative, but it's an amazing initiative. And what sort of initiatives might your involvement with your local hospital end up helping them with? And how many people might that end up happening? How many lives might that improve?
Mhm.
It's not just the patient, it's all the people around them. It's the way that the nurses then feel if they see the patient improving. It's so valuable. It's got such a rippling effect, and it's so beautiful.
I definitely have a different feeling towards hospitals than ever before. Recently, my husband lost a very, very dear friend. He had had multiple strokes, and his family had made the honorable decision, knowing the person he is, to allow him to be an organ donor, believing it would be his wish, as he was this giving soul. And I never experienced being present for all this process where they, are choosing to take them off life support and wheeling them down to the surgery room to give their organs so that they can give life to someone else. And I'll be moved for the remainder of my life seeing the walls lined with doctors and nurses and staff in this beautiful honoring of this individual's life, and the ability to give the gift of life to several other people who would receive his organs. So there's whole programs within the in hospitals in your community that do that, that help the families through it, that support the families. There's just so much involved in that whole process. that hospitals are doing more than you know sometimes.
Yeah, that really, really, really beautiful. So, and yeah, tough situation, that one, but such a beautiful opportunity to help others.
Well, just like your situation with your spinal cord injury, something very beautiful came out of it, and that's the most we can ever hope for all the challenges we face in life, even as we say goodbye to people we love, that something beautiful can come out of it. Then well done us, right?
Yeah,
So.
agreed.
Yeah, so we're talking about embracing these uncertain circumstances, and what a way to do so. As we move on, get typing again because we want to hear about the books that inspired your personal life or helped you grow your business. I'm just really bonkers about some books. I have them everywhere. I listen to all kinds audio, ebooks, digital books, old fashioned books, used bookstores are like candy shop for me. I love and adore books. And I always ask our guests to share with us one that improved their personal life or helped them grow their business. We want you typing. And if you're an author of a book, put that in there too. Because if you hit that share button and someone else is kind and shares, guess what? We just might be featuring not just the cause you love, but the book you wrote or your favorite books with others. And that can be a pretty wonderful thing for you and everyone else following. So, Mark, tell us about a book that inspired your personal life or helped you grow your business.
Well, it was probably a bit of both. So for me, the book it's called The Goal by Eli Goldratt, and I became aware of it about 20 years ago. I'd just changed jobs, and corporate job was dealing with a facility that had a lot of different bottlenecks in it. And so someone said, "Oh, you should read this book." And really, the book helps us with bottleneck theory. But the idea of bottleneck theory is basically, where's that thing that needs the biggest improvement now?
Mm-hmm.
Where should I focus my effort now? What's the biggest thing
Mm-hmm.
that's going to give me the best? But if it gives me a lot of improvement, but then something else doesn't improve, then I don't get the full value. So I need to understand what the knock-on effects are effectively, and where to spend my energy. And
Mm-hmm.
I just found that theory of constraints, that ability to tackle bottlenecks, is really, really interesting to me. It's a relatively simple book. He uses metaphor and story to make it really relatable, and I just found it easy read, and it just sparked that curiosity and really helped me in that particular job of, okay, so I just need to improve our product mix this way. I just need to help the production facility change its product mix, um, and we can get this extra money through the business, and then I feel better about my job. And then come 15 years later, of course, that whole theory of constraints, that whole ability to tackle, what's my current constraint, what's my current issue, became me. I became the bottleneck project, and my body, and how do I learn how to move my toes again? How do I learn to move my feet again? How do I suddenly start to understand that feet are important, because I didn't really think about how important they were before, and just tackling that task of rebuilding my ability to walk one muscle by one muscle, and step by step, and people helped me through that process. So yeah, that book, The Goal, I just found it really pretty simple, but just the way he uses story, and he starts with the story of some Boy Scouts, and the idea that you actually will walk faster if the slowest people walk at the front, which is not historically how we would set up a line of people. We always just let the slow people tail off the back. And of course, that is because the fast people can catch up to the slow people. So if something happens and the fast person they're at the back and have to tie up their shoelace, they will catch back up to the slow people at the front. But if the slow person is at the back and have to tie up their shoelace, then everyone waits until they eventually get there. And just the simple way he told that story, and then just use that to paint that theory of constraints, and I guess that ability to tackle how do I optimize this system by looking at its entirety and looking at its bottlenecks, became really valuable to me. I think it definitely became valuable to me in my corporate life, and that idea of just little improvements, where they need to be today, helped me a lot in my recovery.
I love that. And so the book is called The Goal.
That one's called The Goal. Yep.
And so, great compliments to the book you are suggesting. Everyone watching is two books. One called Systemology, fantastic book. Systemology, and the other is called Fix This Next. And both of those books actually complement one another very, very well, and fantastic reads. And they will help whether you're improving things in your own personal life, in your own business, if you're looking at systemizing, getting more speaking gigs, or building your community, Mark, any of those things. These books would be fantastic in the identifying what can be automated, what can be outsourced, which is one of the things we provide is we have a virtual assistant membership program and outsourcing, and we do help our clients identify sales and marketing ways to automate and simplify their life so they can get more done. I don't usually talk about me, but there was a perfect opportunity. So,
Right.
it's my
And I
show. I'm
love the
gonna
idea
use
of those
it.
two. I love the idea of those two books too. And but come back to that, yeah. Like it is so tempting sometimes when you're making that transition, like I have, of your business. You don't want to let go of things, or you don't have the confidence to say, well, actually, if I outsource that, I'll be focusing on the things I should be focusing on, which is
Mhm,
again theory of constraints,
mhm.
and doing the right things. And I know I battle with that. And how do I make sure I let go of the things I should?
I have no problem outsourcing anything and everything I could possibly think of. I let it all go.
Oh,
It's how
perfect.
it's how I do so much. So I am the Italian mother of 7. We have 7 kids, 8 grandkids. My husband owns a business. I own a business. We own a third business with our adult children. We're taking 2 um, real estate classes right now. I'm in a book club. I'm a podcast host, and I have a 13-year-old who's in all year travel soccer. So we do that. And I'm helping her and I together are writing some children's books, and I'm writing a novel series, and I've written some songs in the background. It's the only way I can do, and I manage my company and all the things, but I have all the people that do all the things to help me do all the things, you know?
But isn't that so crucial? Like, full credit, because I haven't managed that as well as you have, and what you're achieving through all those collaborations and those projects. But you start to really focus on what's bringing me joy. What can I
Mhm,
do really well? Where's my points of differences? So
mhm,
I think, and it's all those things. It's what are you talented at, but also what
mhm.
do you love doing and lighting you up, and
Yep.
focus on doing that and not everything else if you can afford to, or you know, and it's not necessarily even just that. It's just making the decision to
It's
let
just
go of the
making
rest
the
of the stuff.
decision. Everyone can afford to. So I've been running my company for 9 years now, and only the last 5 have we had a VA agency. But prior to that, I always from the third month in my company, I only had 2 or 3 consulting clients, and I made a decision that I wanted to be, walking on the boardwalk at the water, making dinner with my family in the evening, not following up from networking events, and so at that point, I decided because we also played Yahtzee and all these things, and I didn't want to be in there playing Yahtzee thinking, oh, I need to go in the office and follow up from that networking thing I did so I can make the next sale to get the next consulting client. Or I didn't want to be thinking about that when I'm playing Yahtzee with my kid and my
Yeah.
husband, on game night. And so I thought, you know what? There was a bunch of things lying around the house, and whether you have kids or not, for my case it was old toys and clothes my child didn't need anymore. I put that on Facebook Marketplace, and that is how I got my first $600 to
Wow.
use for my VA. I said, this is my VA fund. And I made sure they did tasks that made me more money. So then I could keep adding to that fund and keep growing and expanding my team. And before I even started my own agency, I had at least 15 VAs that worked just for me, for my company, and no one else before
Yep.
we grew it into the bigger thing. Because if you do that, like you said, just little things, anyone can afford this. There is no afford it. It's a decision to what do you want to do? Do you want to be present and with your family when you're supposed to be and let someone else do the other tasks? And we give opportunities to all kinds of families to have resources. So it's
And
definitely a decision to just decide to do it.
and that's a brilliant, because so often we evaluate the cost of doing something,
Mhm.
and we don't as fully evaluate the cost of not doing it. In this case,
Mhm.
I love the example you gave, because what a powerful example to say, I want to be present with my family when we're playing Yahtzee or we're doing this. And so if I don't outsource this, if I don't find a way to break this cycle, then the cost is that I'm missing those precious moments. And time obviously is the most precious commodity we've got of all. The time with family is that,
Yes.
amplified big time, right? How do we
Yeah.
take the most of these opportunities? And so often we do actually just let that I guess let the current take us on in the current situation, and losing ourselves in the current of life, if you like, the currency life, and we don't say, how do I stop this to actually focus my time on the things that are most valuable to me?
Mhm. And I say to you all, holidays are creeping up on us. They're coming. Empty your closets, clean out the stuff. There's a whole bunch in this house you don't need. Put it up for sale somewhere, whatever platform you sell your secondhand things. Donate the rest and give it away and make space for all the new wonderful things that are coming. And then you can do some great things with that money.
Yeah, and that's key, right? Reinvest it into you. How do you
That's
make your life
right.
better? Right.
Exactly. Exactly. I love that. Now, you are an award-winning author and not just one award. So talk to us about your book.
Yeah. So about 15 months after my accident, I sort of talked about it and wrote about my accident publicly for the first time, and that got some encouragement to say, why don't you write about this and speak about it some more? And I'm going, really? And the encouragement kept coming, so I eventually listened, and that positive feedback does motivate us into action, doesn't it? And I wrote a
Mhm,
book called A Fraction Stronger, and my idea was just that we are always a bit stronger, a bit more capable of tackling things than we realize. And how do
mhm,
we remind ourselves of that? How do we remind our friends of that? How powerful is that if we can remind our friends of it and share a few stories, share our own
mhm,
stories that
mhm,
help us find that inner strength and that just capability of, tackling one small issue at a time. I broke it down into sort of three metaphors. So lanterns, which I use as a metaphor of hope. So how do we have those lanterns of hope, the things that drive
mhm,
us forward to where we want to go? Who are the angels? The people that help us get to that, whether that be our own effort and our own attitude, and what are the demons, the things that might derail us from going that way, and how do we manage those, if you like, ring
mhm,
fence them or even turn them to the positive slightly? So that was the structure I settled on the book, and yeah, amazing project. Found it incredibly rewarding on so many levels, most of all being the people I've met through it, both the people I met as other authors during the writing of the book and afterwards, but then also the people who've read the book and the feedback. It's just been an absolutely incredible opportunity, and again, would I prefer that I stayed upright on that bike that day? Of course, I can't change it though, right? It's not going to
right.
happen. How many amazing things and how many amazing opportunities have come out of it, including this book, and so when I was getting that incredible feedback from a few readers at the start, I thought, oh, okay, I've got to work harder here because that's generally been my ethos in life. And how do I work harder at putting it into more hands? And so I started to enter a few book awards during 2022, and then went on an incredible hot streak of winning 16 awards or something. It was just so incredible. Couldn't
Wow.
still can't believe it really. Um, and again, the people I've met through having the courage to enter those awards and the feedback you get from them, and turning up a couple of award ceremonies, and yeah, it's just been such an absolute privilege. So yeah, yeah, great. Again, you used the words, I think, early on, Jessica, that you just never know when you take a chance on something where it's going to lead to the opportunities that might come out of it. And I'm so blessed with the opportunities that have come out of this choice to write my book called A Fraction Stronger.
All right. You've got any ideas for any other books coming?
Yeah, I dabble with that all the time. So
Mm,
long term, I want to write plays. I just love theatre.
mhm,
And so I see myself getting to plays eventually, which means I probably need to write some fiction at some point in time in the future, so I improve my skills. No offense to non-fiction writers, but obviously fiction writers got to really play with, scene
mhm,
and setting and brevity
mhm,
a bit better. And then um, in the non-fiction space, I'd like to write a few more books. So the idea of one of the working titles I got in my head is mostly follows instructions, which is really the idea that life, I think, is good planning and good adaptability, and how do we have that appreciation of both? And maybe it's a sort of comment that my physio might have made to me at times. I've said, well, you've achieved amazing things, and mostly you followed my instructions in doing doing that. So just that idea that the guidance from others is important, but other times you just got to push the boundaries a little bit. And sense of shortfall. So how do we sort of deal with that when we're really encouraging ourselves to aim high? Because the more we aspire to something really, really high and difficult, I think the more incredible opportunities we can create for ourselves. But of course, when we're aspiring high, then quite often coming with that is disappointment and shortfall. And how do we deal with that sense of shortfall? How do we make sense of it? How do we be okay with it and see that we've actually made incredible gains, even if we've fallen short of everything we were aiming for? And how we might have had this target, this goal of what we were trying to achieve from this action, but actually all these amazing other things that happened out here, whether it be friendships, relationships, new information, new perspectives, new thoughts that help you do something else, they've eventuated from that really lofty goal. But we sometimes, because they're not on the direct path to the goal, we lose sight of them, we don't celebrate them, we don't take full use of them. So how do we make more sense, I guess, of the shortfalls we're having, and most of all, use that, I guess, to pick ourselves up and aim high again, rather than saying, well, we didn't reach the last goal, let's aim lower this time, which is actually a bit self-defeating. And yeah, of course, Michelangelo, to paraphrase, basically said, the problem for most men is, or most of us in life, most men and women, is that we, is not aiming high and falling short of those goals, but actually choosing to aim too low and reaching them. And what a waste that is, to not have lofty ambitions and strive.
Yeah, that's very, very true. I love that. It's been so nice having you on the show, Mark. I hope you love being here today.
It's been absolutely awesome. Thank you for the chance, Jessica.
And if you're out there thinking, wait, I have a book in me, or I've written a book, or I could help someone improve their personal life or grow their business larger than they ever imagined, maybe I should be on the show, I'd say reach out to us, and our team will give you the directions and let you know just how we can get you here and feature you and your story and your dreams and how you serve to the world. So before we get
Jessica, on that, like, I know we've covered it, but you've made the decision to write a book or to share your ideas with the world. I cannot understate the growth and satisfaction that you will feel in yourself, as well as the potential impact you'll have on others. It's a courageous thing to do, to write books. A lot of people talk about it. A few do, and it doesn't need to be books, whatever program or idea or business or speaking that you sometimes sit back and think, I could do that. And then you knock yourself down and go, no, I can't, or whatever, or other priorities take place. I cannot tell you how much the potential to grow as a result of the decisions to push yourself and write, and to the impact you can have, and how satisfying that can be. There'll be hard, like anything, there'll be hard moments, but so many satisfying moments. So give it a crack, and then reach out to Jessica and get on the show.
And I was going to tell him that we weren't going to say goodbye until he gives us a final thought, a piece of information or inspiration as we close out our show today. I think that might have been a piece of it, but any final thought as we go?
I'll try and channel that down to a more specific, which is, even when you're doing something difficult, just what of this can I do now? What can I do? Don't look at the gaps of the things you can't do of that task right now. What can I do of it now? And find a way to do that. And then by making that progress, you'll be encouraged. You'll see how you can do the next bits of the task. So focusing on what you can do now, what I can do, and not being overwhelmed by what of this do I think I can't do.
I love that. Well, thank you very much again, Mark. And thank you, all of you. And until our next show, I'm still your host, Jessica Koch. And this has been Profound Professionals, the interview series that brings you experts from all over our beautiful globe that helps improve your personal life or grow your business. So until our next show, be kind to yourself out there and be kind to each other. Bye, everybody.